What's up, YouTube? Team Plays for Days. Your boy CJ's here. Got a deck profile for you, Prism Dragons. We definitely just got to get some content, some information about this deck right here. So, Prism Dragons is definitely a fun wall deck. We've seen it all over regionals here. Everybody's done a great job playing it. And I just wanted to give you guys my take on the build. So, the buddy's definitely Heavenly Crystal Dragon, Aldo Athora. The Overturn Athora. This card's nuts. First off, it does have the Athora ability to where you cannot take damage during your, or take card effect damage, first off. And then it also cannot be destroyed by card effects. That's awesome. That's definitely a good thing. The Overturn ability, you pay a gauge, discard a card from hand. When your opponent's card attacks, then they're going to take a damage for the attack, and then every monster on their board they have to attack with, or every card on board they have to attack with, I should say. And they take a damage for each of that. It's all of those attacks are redirected to Aldo Athora. It has double attack and Soul Guard naturally. So yeah, this card's really clutch. If you guys don't know what it does after I just explained it to you, then look it up. Alright, so that's the buddy. Let's start off with our size zeros. We're going to play 2 copies of Red Crystal Dragon Nimue, however you pronounce these cards' names. When this card enters the field, you can call another size 0 monster except for itself from the drop zone. So basically, he's going to allow you to replenish your field for the other Athora that we play. We play the Heavenly, and then there's one more that we'll go over here in a moment. So he just allows you to fill up your board so you have, 2 monsters on the board so you can use the new Athora that just came out. 3 copies of Flying Crystal Dragon Shielder. This card is really nice. So basically, you discard a card from your hand when he enters the field, and then you can take a defense spell from your deck, and then you add it to your hand. So basically, this searches out basically any of your spells. There's a few that it does not search, but mostly everything in the deck is a defensive spell. So all your counter speed cards is what you're going to be searching with this, from your Asterism effects to your Phase Shield chains and everything else. So this card's really good. You could max it at 4. I just found it safe at 3. So that's that. White Crystal Dragon Rizzling. Another very nice card. So size 0, when it enters the field, you draw a card. Easy, just draw a card. You can get the effect off an Emu, you get a free draw. So there. Alright, so now the important stuff, the size 3. I played 1 copy of Rainbow Gem Crystal Dragon Curse Geist, or I like to call him Lugia. But this guy's really good. Let me double check the effect real quick. So on the field, he cannot be destroyed or returned to the hand by your opponent's monster effects. And then the main powerful effect about him is that at the start of your opponent's final phase, when he's in the center, you can pop 2 cards on your opponent's field, and then you draw 2 cards. So first off is field destruction on your opponent, and then you get to draw a card. So it's really good for that reasoning. It's good in better other matchups, so I side more, but just having 1 just in case for game 1 is definitely good. So that's one of him. Played 2 copies of Jade Crystal Dragon Chartreuse. With this guy, so when he becomes a size 0, when he's on the left or right, and you have a size 3 Prism Dragon in the center, after one of your monsters, or your Prism Dragon monster is attacked, then your opponent takes a damage. So free burn damage to your opponent. And he's also a size 3 that you can potentially use in the center to get ready to call this next guy we'll go over. 3 copies of God Athora. What is it? Providence? Yeah, Providence Crystal Dragon Athora Adamant. This card is amazing. So it has the counter speed ability to be able to be called during your opponent's turn. So it allows helps get around penetrate at times when you're calling it. And then also he has the regular Athora effect. You can't take damage. It can't be destroyed by card effects. And then also this has natural attack, natural counter attack, and double attack, as well as Soul Guard. And it calls itself on top of a monster, and also gets a soul from top decking. So really good. Calling this guy on top of another one, on top of another one. It's pretty clutch. Most of the time you'll see people playing this card at 2, which I don't have a problem with. It makes sense. But I just like it at 3. Like to see the consistency of playing it. There's been games back at Team Regionals, Chicago. I played one on top of the other. I probably played all 3 of them in one game. But it's really good. And since it's searchable, you can get more copies of it out too. All right, so here's where we're gonna go over the new Athora. What is it? Ardent Heavenly Crystal Dragon Athora Lexan. So this is what makes Prism Dragons more aggressive now. It's a 7/3/7 monster with natural penetrate and soul guard. It has a counter speed effect that you can rest a Prism Dragon on your field. So it can be a monster or you can rest your item. Basically, this thing has quadruple attack with the full board. But once you rest the other card, you restand this guy, and then he top decks a soul. So you can build his soul, so it's a defensive play as well as the aggressive play to restand it. And with the penetrate, you're definitely going to be pushing damage with 3 crit. So it's really clutch. It's really powerful. The only thing you want to be careful about with this is you can easily deck out with this deck. Searching so much, gauging so much, you just got to kind of watch that. But yeah, that's definitely a powerful card here. And then we're also playing 3 copies of the Buddy. I only played 3 copies because this card's searchable. You don't really need to play it any more than that. You can make any of your Thoras the Buddy. Like I said, you can search it, so you don't really have to max it out or anything like that. If you want to, of course, it makes sense. It's the Buddy. So that's that. So that's the monster lineup. 3 copies of Crystal Greaves. With this card at the start of your final phase or your opponent's final phase, you can deal 2 damage to your opponent if you have a Prism Dragon in the center. And then, of course, the abilities of all your Prism Dragons cannot be nullified, and all of them get +2/+2. So you can even boost the stats of your size 0 monsters if you're, for example, still on your Heavenly Athora and you have other monsters on the other side. They can attack with a boosted stat. So, they'll be able to hit like 4 or 5, potentially, depending on what monster it is. But yeah, so the extra boost helps. But of course, if you're going Alexin, then you're just powering up Alexin to make him a 9/3/9 to swing through with that penetrate, and then you can rest this to get his effect off. And most likely he's going to be on the board later, so then you'll ping for 2. So burn damage is good. Burn damage good. And we're playing 2 copies of the Impact Cristiano Crystal Shoot. With Crystal Shoot, this is the cheaper cost card to play. The deck's pretty aggressive on its own, so this is just kind of like a matter of just once you've burned your opponent enough, you can just go into the Impact and just win. It's 2 gauge. Your opponent's life is at 4 or less, then you burn them for 4 more. So they can't revive from it or anything like that. So it's good to have. I'm gonna be honest, I rarely ever use this card. I've probably used it I'll probably use it 5 out of 10 games, or 3 or 4 out of 10 games, something like that. But it's not as played as often, but it's still good to have in the deck. As far as your spells, I'm going to go over the 2 set spells that we have at the same time. So we have Auto Ground. Auto Ground's a good set spell. You can search it out with your Flying Crystal Dragon. But when this is on the field, if your opponent takes burn damage during their turn, then you get a free gauge and draw. And then it also gives all your Prism Dragons +1/+1. So it starts to put like your Heavenly Crystal Dragon to 10, or your God of Thora to 11. Your Alexin puts it at 10 as well. So yeah, at 10. So, just kind of does that. That's good to have. And then, of course, your Mirror's Valley redirects all the attacks to your center monster, and it covers your bases because it stops your monsters from being bounced as well. So you definitely need that, as well as being destroyed by card effects. So definitely good set spells to have on board. Right, so just some basic spells here. So we got Starjack Boost. If your life is a 7 or more, which most of the time it is, you get a free gauge and draw. So it's good to have that. I played 2 copies of Antimatter Cloud in the main board. With this card, you discard a card from your hand, you pay a gauge. When your opponent calls a size 3 monster, you nullify the call. So it's good for the mirror match. You can use it against Plague. You can use it in some cases against Chaos. Just so many different decks are playing size 3s, Ancient World decks, anything like that. So you just play you a couple copies to get rid of those big threats that they call to the field. So play 2 of that. 2 copies of Picador Lasers, the promo that we got in the shop tournaments. So basically, if you have a Prism Dragon in your center, you get 1 of 2 effects. You can either rest a monster with or rest a card with 10,000 or more power. So your Iron Swords, you can stop those. You can stop your Suzuki ships. Stop Gear God from attacking. It's just good for that. Or the secondary effect is choose a monster in your center, blow up all monsters on opponent's field with attack less than that monster's defense, which is most likely anything. Once you're pushing 11,000 defense, you can blow up a board easily with that. So we play 2 copies of that. Again, most of these defensive spells are searchable through your Flying Dragon, so you'll be able to pull off these more than once. 2 copies of Asterism Effect. You discard 2 cards to activate this card, and you get 1 of 2 effects. So you can either choose for your monster to not be destroyed for the turn, or your monsters not to be destroyed for the turn, or this basically stops you from losing the game until the end of your opponent's next turn. Yeah, so it comes in handy for either one of those. It's a defense card, so you can search it again. But most of the time, I use it to keep my monster on board, depending on what I'm up against. Every now and then, you do need to use it for the secondary effects so that you're not losing the game, and you can just kind of either, hopefully, you're at 0 or you haven't taken any damage, then go in the final phase on your opponent's turn and end it. There's different plays that you can do with this and a lot of nonsense that it does, so we'll go back over that later. 2 copies of Phase Seal Chains. Basically, after your opponent's third attack, you end their battle phase. So it's really good to have. Let your opponent do their thing. They might have done enough damage. They might not have. If they don't, then that's when this comes in handy. It's like, okay, your opponent hits, your opponent hits, your opponent hits. You still have a throw on field. You haven't taken any damage. Activate this. Final phase. End the game. So this is really clutch too. I'm going to be honest. I'm not too big a fan of this card, but it does come in handy. So Phase Seal Chains is still pretty good. 2 copies of Prismatic Bless. This is basically boss S Link for Prism Dragons. Counter speed, you look at cards from the top of your deck equal to the amount of times your opponent has attacked this turn. Then you get to, in order, you have to put 1 into the gauge, and then you put up to 2 of the cards in your hand, and then you gain a life. So you can potentially draw 4 or 5 cards, put 1 in the gauge, and you get 2 other cards added to your hand. So definitely clutch. A valuable card in the deck for sure. 3 copies of Enhancement. Basically, it's another Star Trek boost. If you have a Prism Dragon in the center, you get to gauge and draw. So, well, first you get the gauge, then you have a Prism Dragon, you get to draw a card. So, free pluses. 3 pluses. And then just a couple more spells. 4 copies of Brush Upper. Ooh, whoa, that's not Brush Upper. Did I play 3 copies? Oh, I'm sorry. I played 3 copies of this now. Yeah. So 3 copies of Brush Upper. With this, you prevent your monster from leaving the field, or prevents a Prism Dragon from leaving the field. So you can protect your shoes too. If you have 6 life or more, then you get to get a free gauge. So stops, kind of helps prevent destruction in a matter of speaking, and gives you some gauge to increase. So really good card. Last but not least, 4 copies of Gemologist. Gemologist is your search spell. If you have 6 life or more, right? Yeah, 6 life or more, you get a gauge, and then you add a Prism Dragon in your hand. So you can search any of your Prism Dragons, well, size 3 Prism Dragons. So you can search out the Cursed Geist, the Chartreuse, the God of Thora, the Alexind, or you can search out Heavenly Crystal Dragon of Thora. Whichever monster that you need for the situation, you can definitely search it out. So that's that. That's my Prism Dragon deck profile, guys. This deck is really defensive. It's a lot of fun to play, in all honesty. If you have like your Alexind on board, you Nemu, and then you call something. For example, you've already searched out a defensive spell to have, so you can do that. You'll search out your defensive spells, so you'll be able to go into your Brush Uppers to keep monsters alive if you need to. And then, like I said, once you have your shoes on board as well, you have your full board, so you'll be able to rest, and this guy stands off of each one. So that'll be basically 4 attacks. So we got 1, rest, 2, rest, and 3, rest, and 4. So that's immediately 3 extra soul that he's already gotten on top of whatever defensive spells. It's just a big wall that your opponent's going to have to get through. Even if you have God or Heavenly Thora on the board, and you have potential attacks here, and this card is just boosting everything so that you can hit numbers. You have Thora's Overturn to keep it active, as well as your defensive cards, such as Brush Upper, or if you want to use your Prismatic Blesses or Phase Seal Chains to be on there. And then, of course, your Asterism Effect. There's just so many defensive cards in this deck. It's crazy. It's crazy. But this deck's a lot of fun. You know, it's definitely going to be changing here with the new sets coming out when the Ace really gets here. Once we see that, we'll be able to change it up a little bit because we have the new rules coming in where we're going to be able to use more counter cards during battle and stuff like that. So we'll see how the deck changes and progresses as we go through, and we'll definitely, I'll definitely be updating as it comes in. But this is just what my build looks like currently before the new meta. So that's how it is. Don't forget, guys, like and subscribe. Check out Red Couch Games. Team Plays for Days is sponsored by that now. We are glad to have the Deaver family with us. Yeah, guys. So we have more stuff coming out your way. We should have like a case opening from Aaron or something like that for the new Solar Strife set, and some more deck profiles, match videos, all that stuff. Other than that, team plays for days. Voila.